everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am excited that you're here today. Today in this video I will be doing a story time. So I don't always do story times, but whenever there's something that is either funny or like a very unique experience, I like to share it with my subscribers, maybe just for the laugh or just so you can learn something from the situation. So I have a story time today that hopefully I can shorten so this video is not long. If you've been following me for a while, thank you so much. You're the real MVP. And if you're just joining the channel, welcome. And if you're still thinking about subscribing, hit that subscribe button and the like. I moved to Ghana about a year ago. And I'm still in the process of transitioning to Liberia, so I'm just sharing my experience here in Ghana while I make preparations for Liberia. So this video is about our driver experience. So I know I did not do a video on us purchasing a car, but we were able to get a car, so we're not using Ubers anymore. Primarily, I guess. Glory be to God. We do use Uber every now and then, if need be. But we have a car, and getting a driver is a whole other thing. So we've been through several drivers. We just purchased the car this year, like in August, I think. So it's just been a few months. And we're on our third driver. Now, the first one, so the first driver had a really hard time accepting instructions or just listening. Like, I don't know if it was coming from a female to a male was the bad thing, or if it was just overall following instructions. He had a really negative attitude when it came to either me like providing some form of instruction on how he should drive, or how we would prefer, like just little improvement things. He had a really hard time taking that from me compared to my husband. So I don't think if it's a male kind of thing, or if it was just him overall. And in Ghana, people drive super fast. Like, in order to, Ghanaian drivers, I don't know if they go to driving schools. That's what is required, but people can just pay money and get their driver's license without even knowing how to drive, or without even having enough road experience or safety measures in place. They can just get a vehicle and start driving. So when you're in Ghana and you're looking for a driver, do not get carried away by the driver's license, because that actually means nothing. So this first driver had serious issue, and we are not comfortable with fast driving. And the fast driving is not just fast driving, but it's fast driving without any kind of safety tips or precautions in place. For example, you're speeding at a rate or at a speed where if an object was in your way and you came across, or you hit or you tip, you would flip or run off the road without having that in mind, without considering that even potholes in front of you could be something that could like actually lead to danger, or without the consideration of pedestrians speeding in areas where people are trying to cross, like busy areas of the motorway or the highway. We're planning to let him go, but I think the last situation we had, he got really offended. So he quit. So we're planning to let him go. He himself, I guess he was fed up with being told what to do, so he left. And then few days, so we didn't bother him. He did no call, no show. He didn't even talk to us about it. So we didn't call him to check or anything. Few days later, he starts calling back. And Rich was like, I'm not gonna answer his call. Like, I'm done with him. So move on. I don't even know how we got the second. Oh, it was recommended. So the second driver was recommended by the maid, and she too didn't know anything much about him. She just knew that he said he was looking for a driving job, and he had been asking her if we needed driver, but at the time we already had one, so she told him that we had one. Now, so he comes for the interview, he meets with Rich, and they talk. He shows his credential, his driver's license, and all of that. So I have planned on going to Accra. Me and my girlfriend that's visiting here with me from the US, we had planned on going to Accra that day, and we were going to get in an Uber, just fine. We didn't mind. So Rich asked us if we wanted to like test drive with the guy, and I said, well, yeah. I mean, if he can stay, because it wasn't planned. So the guy agreed to stay and take us to Accra so that at least we can observe his driving. And boy, oh boy. First thing, to back out of the driveway or the fence, the road in front of our house is pretty narrow with gutter. So when you're backing out, you have to make sure you're not backing out straight. Otherwise, you would go straight into the gutter. You have to curve your car a little bit and go at a slower speed. This boy just puts his foot on the speed and went flying outside the gate. I'm glad that the car was centered, and I think the wheel was straight. But if the tires were not straight, or the car wasn't centered to go out, he was gonna run straight into the middle of the fence instead of go through the opening of the gate. So he goes out, and we're yelling in the car like, your back tire is gonna go in the gutter back there. You need to stop right now. So he stops. But then I noticed that when we first got in the car, he was pretty nervous, because Rich told him, well, I don't go places a lot, but my wife does, so she has to be comfortable with your driving. So I noticed that, and I kind of talked to him about it. I'm like, I'm not trying to score you or anything. I want you to be comfortable. Just pay attention to some safety. And I gave him some tips, and keep a moderate speed so that we're comfortable in the car, and that's it, pretty much. So that first one, I was like, oh, everyone gets used to a new car, right? Like right when you start driving a new car, you have to get used to it. Like, especially if you don't know some of the speed, by the time you touch it, the car start running, and the brake, some of it is so sensitive, by the time you touch it, it just stops. So it's like you have to get used to adjusting. So I gave him that benefit of the doubt. And then before we got to the junction, or getting on the motorway, I noticed that he was struggling in controlling the car. And I told him, well, you need to just keep a low speed if you're having issues balancing the car. Maybe the wheel needs alignment or something, and then we get on the motorway. So he's at a really good speed, and we're like, yeah, this is good. But then the first incident was, this dude changed lane to the left lane without looking over his shoulder, and almost ran a car off the road. This thing is, like, everyone is supposed to know how to change lane, or what are the things to do to change lane. So then I talked to him about it, and then it happened again. So I'm like, this is very dangerous, because he's going, like, he's not even looking. He's just putting his signal on and jumping right in front of those cars. And if you've been in Ghana and you've been on the motorway, the mile per hour on that motorway is 100. Car speed on that road. So imagine a car that's speeding coming to you, you're at a lower speed, and you just jump in front of them. Like they could hit you in no second. Okay? So I started feeling uncomfortable. because now we're on this major highway, and this boy doesn't seem like he understands switching lanes. So I'm like, okay, just stay in this one lane, you know? You don't have to keep switching lane. And then I teach him about looking over his shoulder. He's never heard about that. He had never heard about that. So then I gave the whole lecture about looking over your shoulder and the danger in it and all of that. So because he has never heard of it or has never done it, he's struggling to even do it. And then the road that has the lines in between, those white lines that tells you, that divides the lanes, he's driving in the middle of the white line, with the white line underneath our car on a major highway. And I'm like, why are you in the middle of the lane? You realize you're blocking this way and you're blocking this way, and these cars are speeding. You have to stay in one lane. So when he goes in one lane, he's struggling to balance the car in one lane. Hey, the wahala we found. So I'm like, what the hell did we put ourselves in? It was so scary. So then now his confidence starts to go down because he realizes that he's making so much errors. And it was just by the grace of God, I swear. I started praying in the back of my mind. I'm like, God, just take us safely. So then he drops his speed all the way to like the lowest speed ever. And I'm like, even that is dangerous. You can't drop your speed. Like people are speeding. And then when he tries to, I mean, it was just so much. Merging onto a new lane on the rim, his speed is not equivalent to the incoming traffic. I can just go on and on. So we finally get to Accra. We went to the Palace Mall, and he tries to park the car and bumps the car into, they have those small poles that be in the parking spots. And the securities usually try to help you direct traffic and help you park well and stuff. And the security was looking at him like, this person must not know how to drive, because all of the things that the guy is telling him to do, it almost seems like he didn't know how to do it. So he finally, we're like, we gotta go because we had an appointment. We're like, we gotta go, just park the car. Right before we got out of the car, this dude just went behind, boom, into the pool that's there. Oh my gosh. So I get down, look behind, the car is still okay. I'm like, okay, it's no big deal. Now we go to the mall. We're so worried how we're gonna go to the next destination. If we should go back home, how are we gonna get home? At this point now, we're thinking we should just have him leave the car, we drive it back home. But we don't have credentials to drive in Ghana. And all kinds of things are just going through my head, but I'm still giving him benefit of the doubt, I'm still not thinking that the guy does not know how to drive. I'm still thinking that he's not comfortable on the road, because he said he works with the U.S. Embassy and he had been there for 3 years. So my thought is, while he's working at the U.S. Embassy, he hasn't been driving. So maybe he's not comfortable on the road anymore. So coming back, we decided to make that our last stop. Coming back, the same thing. I mean, it was so bad. It felt like I was teaching my daughter for the very first time how to drive, like a permit driver. After they've taken the test and now they're ready for road instructions, and you guys go and do your first lesson. But instead of doing community area, you put her or him on like a major highway, like I-94 in Minnesota, to drive. Imagine all the things that could go wrong. You can't even be fast enough to teach because the error is already there. And what was scary is that the simplest mistake would have been a fatal one. So we come home and I ask him, me, I like to teach now. So I'm like, how did you think your driving was? We went through all of that, blah, 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 areas of improvements. I still feel like I should give him another trial. I went to talk to Rich. I told Rich about all the things that happened, but I'm giving excuses for him. I'm like, he hasn't been in the car long enough. He still has to get used to the car and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so come back on Saturday so you can drive one more time. We'll give you time to learn. We can teach you. This time, I'm even afraid to sit in the car with him. So I told Richard to go and do the test drive and teach him some things. First mistake while Richard is in the car is he puts the car in drive instead of reverse, and he didn't realize that he put it in drive. So then he put his feet on the speed and he started to go ahead to go hit the house before he realized it was in, and he panicked, put it in put it in reverse. Now, according to Richard, that should have been a reason to be suspicious, but he was like, you know what, even Okran drivers do that. So coming out of the fence, same old thing. This time the car was not aligned. The boy ran straight into the fence, bust our car whole front part. I'm going to put a picture up here. I'm laying down sleeping Saturday morning. They didn't even leave the fence. Richard just got out of the car. He was like, my young man, give me my keys and you are fired. I don't want to work with you ever again. He's like, so what am I supposed to do now? You've bust my car. You can't drive. Why you didn't say you can drive? Why did you have to lie about it? And that's the thing, because he told us he had been driving for the last his stories were so conflicting. He said he had been driving for 3 years. However, he told us he works with the embassy for the last 3 years. I asked him. But then when we got back the first day, I asked him, I said, when was the last time you sat in a car to drive? He said in 5 years. I asked him, did you ever go to a driving school? He said he started in 2017, but he lost his father, so he had to drop out. This boy did not know how to drive. When we went to check back on the driver's license, he had just obtained it this year in June. So he just went and paid for the driver's license, never sat behind a car, and he actually confessed to that. So do not get carried away by driver's license. This boy almost killed us on the motorway. It was only by the grace of God. They will come with stories. When you ask him, do you know how to do this? Yes. Do you know how to do this? Yes. People, they always know how to do everything until you go and try. So we had to fix that car. It cost us extra money. And we didn't have a driver. So we were okay with not having a driver for a while. And then we got another recommendation from the gym, and the guy that we have now, he's really good. He has been driving. He's had his driver's license since 2020, and you can tell that he's been on the road, and he's a really good driver. Like, his speed and everything is good. He knows how to assess situations before he gets there, like what he should do. He watches out for like incoming traffic, pedestrian, and all. So he has most of those safety measures in place, so we're comfortable. And he's been with us only a week now. But this story is not even as funny now that I'm explaining it than when it first happened. We laughed about this thing. It was serious, but it was funny. So we were driving with a permit driver on Temamoto Way. I don't even know if a permit driver, never entered car before, kind of driver. So that's the story time. I have another video coming up on the inflation in Ghana. We'll be talking about the inflation and price hacking in Ghana and how it's affecting people who have moved to Ghana and also the locals. So stay tuned and watch out for the next video. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.